Hello guys, today we will talk about the respiratory system and their functions. So what is respiratory system? The process of physiological respiration includes two major parts. First is the external respiration and internal respiration. So when we say external respiration, also known as breathing, involves both bringing air into the lungs or inhalation and releasing air to the atmosphere or exhalation. During internal respiration, oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged between the cells and blood vessels. So this is the parts of respiratory system: the nose and nasal cavity, sinuses, mouth, throat or pharynx, voice box or larynx, windpipe or trachea, diaphragm, lungs, bronchial tubes, bronchi, bronchioles, air sacs or alveoli, and last is capillaries. So when we say nose and nasal cavities is when we say nose, also called external nares, divided into two halves by nasal septum. Nose is contains the paranasal sinuses where air is warm, and contains cilia which is responsible for filtering out foreign bodies. So when we say pharynx or the throat, it is a common space by both the respiratory and digestive system. It is commonly called the throat and originates posterior to the nasal and oral cavities and extend in inferiorly near the level on bifurcation of larynx and esophagus. And pharynx is also common pathway for both air and food. And pharynx is also walls are lined by the mucosa and contain skeletal muscles that are primarily used by swallowing. Flexible lateral walls are distensible in order to force swallowed food into the esophagus. So when we say larynx or the voice box, is larynx is prevent swallowed materials from entering the lower respiratory tract and conducts air into the lower respiratory tract, and it also produces sounds. And larynx also supported by the framework of 9 pieces of cartilage, 3 individual pieces and 3 cartilage pairs that are held in the place by ligaments and muscles. So next is the trachea or the windpipe. Trachea extends through the mediastinum or mediastinum and lies anterior to the esophagus and inferior to the larynx. And trachea cartilaginous rings reinforce and provide rigidity to the tracheal wall to ensure that the trachea remains open at all times. Next is the lungs. Each lung has conical shape. Its wide concave base rests upon the muscular diaphragm. Lungs is a superior region called the apex, projects superiorly to a point that is slightly superior and posterior to the clavicle. Next is the pleura. The outer surface of each lung and the adjacent internal thoracic wall are lined by the serous membrane called pleura, and the pleural cavities. The potential space between the serous membrane layers is pleural cavities. So next is let us talk about the functions of respiratory system. So the functions of respiratory system is first is supplies the body with oxygen and disposes of carbon dioxide. Second is filtered inspired air. Third, produces sound. Fourth, contains receptors for smell. Fifth is rids the body of some excess water and heat. And lastly is helps regulate blood pH. In breathing in pulmonary ventilation consists of two cyclic phases. First is, as what I said later, the inhalation and exhalation. When we say inhalation, also called inspiration, draws gases into the lungs, and exhalation, also called expiration, forces gases out of the lungs. Breathing starts when inhale air into the nose or mouth. It travels down the back of your throat and into your windpipe, which is divided into air passages called bronchial tubes. For your lungs to perform their best, these airways needs to be open. They should be free from inflammation and swelling and extra mucus. As the bronchial tube passed through your lungs, they divided into the smaller air passages called bronchioles. The bronchioles end in a tiny balloon-like air sacs called alveoli. Your body has about 600 million alveoli. So next is respiratory system clean the air. Our respiratory system has built-in methods to keep harmful things in the air from entering your lungs. Hairs in your nose help filter out large particles. Tiny hairs, called cilia, along your air passages move in the sweeping motion to keep the passages clean. But if you breathe in harmful things like cigarette smoke, the cilia can stop working. This can lead to health problems like bronchitis. Cells in your trachea and bronchial tubes make your mucus that keeps air passages moist and helps keep things like dust, bacteria and viruses and allergy causing things out of your lungs. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening.